Hello everyone and welcome to the video. If you found yourself here, it's most likely because you are at the Barrows Brothers minigame. Maybe you're just starting out, or maybe you are hunting specific items like I am. Let me give you a little bit of context on my account. My account was created close to the old school release, so long before Iron Man was available as a game mode. I am not an Iron Man, but I do like to play for my own drops, which means I am at the Barrows hunting my own items. Items that I require specifically are the Varrock helm, the Carol's top, the Varrock plate skirt, as well as the full Guthans set. Full Guthans being the priority for Slayer, as well as some God Wars dungeon runs that I have coming up in the future. After completion of approximately 220 chests, I started to forecast that the items I was looking for might not be coming as soon as I had hoped. The original plan was to continue doing the Barrows Brothers and opening the chests until I got the items I need, and then put it on hold for a while and maybe come back later and complete the collection log. Because I only need specific items, I did not anticipate having to complete the entire log. But because the items you receive from each chest are random, as well as which brother you receive if you are getting a roll to receive an item is also random, it is very difficult to control. At this moment, my inner laziness as well as ingenuity kicked in, and I took to the internet to see if there was other people discussing hunting specific Barrows items. Is that possible? Is it only possible to kill one brother and limit the risk you have of receiving an item from a brother that is undesirable to you, or a brother that you might already have completed a full set of? Now, the discussions on the Reddit were very useful, but they were just that. They were just discussions. It did not seem like anyone had really kind of constructed a guide on this, or had run some tests, or had really implemented a strategy of hunting specific Barrows items, which led me to dig in a little deeper. Now, the most useful piece of information I found was a post made by the JMods, which show the formula on how the Barrows Brothers rolls are calculated when you loot the chest. And this formula is very, very important to determining whether or not it is worth it specifically to kill some brothers and not others. Understanding and analyzing this formula is very important in determining whether or not it is a viable option to kill a select number of brothers to achieve certain items. What caught my attention right away is that the number of the brothers killed is not only the number of rolls the player receives, but it also acts as a multiplier in determining the chance the player has at receiving an item. Simply put, this threw a wrench in what we're trying to achieve. What this formula means is that for every one less brother killed, it is not only affecting the rolls the player has, it is also, due to the multiplier, affecting the chances, and quite significantly. On the screen now, you'll see this multiplier in action, and how killing one less brother affects the chance and ultimately affects your odds, on average, of receiving an item per chest you open. For example, as you can see on the screen, killing 6 brothers versus killing 5 brothers. Although this is only one less brother and one less roll, because the chance is increased, you go from a 1 in 14.57 to a 1 in 26.97, which rounded up is a 1 in 15 versus a 1 in 27. In conclusion, by killing one less brother, your chances of receiving an item on average are decreased by almost double. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're not onto something here, because there are other variables that are at stake, not just the chance and the formula. Before I move on to the next section, I do want to point out a piece of information that I did not know that I learned from this. The percentage potential that players usually work towards getting the as close to 80% as possible does not affect whether or not you will receive a roll for a Barrows item. That is simply related to the number of runes or the items you receive, excluding the Barrows items, from the chest. So for players who are hunting only items, excluding killing the monsters down in the chamber could be a way of saving time. Now, it's time to understand the variables and how the variables affect the chances and the decreased chances if you are in fact going to kill less brothers. One of the most important variables is time. If I am killing less brothers, what is my time savings? If I'm only killing 4 brothers or 5 brothers and my chance is decreased by 50%, can I do it in 50% of the time in order to balance it out? The second variable is the scenario itself. Yes, by only killing one less brother, your chances are decreased by almost double, but that is related to receiving an item. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to receive the item you are specifically hunting for or the item you specifically need. That just means that you are going to receive an item, and that item could be a duplicate. So we need to look at the chance of receiving an item you are actually hunting for it's important to remember, specifically for those who are hunting one remaining item. Not only do you have to be lucky enough to receive an item and a successful roll, but you first have to receive the roll for the item, you then have to receive the luck of achieving the brother that you desire, and then receiving the item. You are relying on 3 tiers of success to achieve the item you are looking for. Now we are going to look at the OSRS Wiki and the Barrows calculator. This is a very useful tool in understanding the mathematics that determine how and what Barrows item you are going to receive and what your chances are. Now I'm going to compare the mathematics of 2 scenarios. The first scenario being, if I kill all 6 brothers, what is the likelihood of receiving a desired piece from a specific brother? And then I'm going to look at just killing one brother, the brother I desire the piece from, to see the percentages, how they match up, and whether or not this is a viable option for hunting a specific piece from a specific brother. This is a scenario you're going to review when looking at the mathematics, because I believe this to be the most common for most players who are hunting one item as they get near the end of the Barrows completion. Now, bear with me because this part can get a little confusing. On the screen, you are seeing the chances if you have killed 6 brothers. So let's go through it one by one. If I've killed 6 brothers, I have a 1 in 102 chance with 7 rolls. That means I have 7 rolls over 102 as my chance, equaling 14.57. This is the average. So for every 14.57 chests you open, you should receive an item, one of the 24 available items, which means you need to take the 24 available items and multiply it by 102. And this equals 2,448. With 7 rolls, you add the 7 rolls over the 2,448, and this equals your specific chance at getting a desired item. So your chance would be 1 in 349.71. Taking your 1 over 349, dividing it and then multiplying it by 100 gives you your percentage chance at getting a desired item. And this can be seen on the Barrows calculator on the wiki. Now, there are 4 items per brother, so that means you need to take the 349.71 and divide it by 4, which would give you 1 and over 87.42. So, in summary, there are 2 numbers that are important here. First being 1 over 87, which represents the chance at getting an item from a desired brother, and next 1 over 349.71, which is your chance at getting a desired item. Now, let's look at the scenario where we only kill one brother, maybe the desired brother. In my case, this would be Guthan. So, by killing only one brother, you have a 1 in 392 chance with 2 rolls. The roll for killing the brother, as well as the free roll given when looting the chest. So, 2 rolls over 392 equals 1 in 196 chance. That's your common average at receiving a piece. Because there are 4 available items, you then multiply 4 by 392, which equals 1,568. With 2 rolls over 1,568 for a specific item, you get a chance of 1 in 784 at receiving your desired item. 1 in 784 divided, then multiplied by 100 gives you a 0.127 chance at getting your desired item. So, similar to the last slide, in summary, your chance at getting an item, because you've only killed the one brother, it is the same as your common average at 1 over 196 chance at getting a roll on that brother, and a 1 in 784 chance at getting your desired item. Now, we're going to look at a comparison between the 2. Now look, if your head is spinning a bit, this is a lot of numbers and a lot of things to understand in a short amount of time. But let's break it down to just the average, or the roll, the chance of getting an item per killing one brother or 6 brothers in relation to the desired item we want, and then we can take a look at how the variables affect this. Also, if you want to run through this on your own, go to the wiki, go to the Barrows calculator, and enter in brothers killed to a specific number and review the chances and the fractions that are there. You will understand this after a little bit of time, and you can play with the numbers, and it should make a lot more sense. Now that we understand what our drop rates would be in comparison between killing 6 brothers or only 1 brother, we can now take a look at the variable of time and see how that contrasts with the drop rates we've been presented. For this part of the experiment, I'm going to hone in specifically on the brothers themselves and not the items. So that means we're going to look at the 1 in 87.4 for killing 6 brothers, and the 1 over 196 for killing the 1 brother. So what I've done is I've grouped together the 3 test runs I did. These are not the only runs I did, these are just averages to show you the approximate amount of time. So the first one is 1 brother, and this is around 1 minute, typically under 1 minute, assuming you know where the brother is. In this case, I went and found the brother first, went back to my starting location, and then began the timer. So you can see here that we're going to be about 1 minute. In this case, it was Aram. So if I was hunting an Aram's item specifically, I could start here and go at him right away and rush the chamber for a 1 in 196 chance. Next, I'm doing a 4 brother run. This is an optimal scenario that I was using specifically for myself because I was looking for items from 4 brothers. This is a 1 in 44 chance, so I am killing Varak, Torag, Carol, and then Guthan. In this case, you'll see as the timer goes on here, as I've obviously sped it up, we are going to have just under 3 minutes. I did this one probably the most. I've probably done around 250 chests of this scenario, and you can typically do it in under 3 minutes with certain items and certain strategies that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. As you can see, I have things like the strange old lockpick as well. I also have very good DPS, being maxed mage, and some gear that's going to help me progress. So that is a factor in these scenarios. I wanted to show kind of as fast as possible on average, and loot the chest to give everyone an example. And then lastly, what we have is the 6 brothers. So in this case, we're going to do all 6 and then loot the chamber. One thing I did notice that is kind of a strategy in terms of estimating time is it's typically 1 minute to loot the chamber, and then from that I would say about 30 seconds per brother, and this kind of reflects that. You'll see the first brother, the only 1 brother kill was 1 minute, and then looking at the 4 brother kills, you have 3 minutes, so that's 1 minute to loot the chamber plus the brother plus the remaining others, about 30 seconds per, and then that's including kind of your pit stop. And in this case, going from 4 brothers to 6 brothers, it's about another minute, so around 30 seconds per brother to get the kill. In the next section, I will talk a little bit about the gear and kind of the optimization of time, but specifically it's going to be different for every player. Certain players, especially Ultimate Ironmen or Ironmen, might not have access to the strange old lockpick. So it's going to come down to players specifically testing this out on their own and seeing what their time is, but we'll look a little bit at time as a variable as we get into this next section. Before we move on to the next section and kind of bring this all to a summary, I do want to talk specifically about my character and some of the gearing I have in relationship to the time. So obviously I have things like the occult necklace as well as the mage arena 2 cape for the damage bonus. I also have 99 mage, so, and also I would say I'm like a pretty high range level for switching over to kill Aram. So I want to stress that it's very important for individuals who are watching this guide, who are going to employ the strategies that we come up with in the next section, as far as killing brothers and playing things around that. It's important for you to take the time to time out your runs, do 5 to 10 of each kind of run you're going to do, and understand the times before you apply it. It's going to be very different for everyone. Unless players are playing main accounts like me, or you're trying to finish the collection log, the majority of the players this is going to benefit, I see, being more, Ultimate Ironmen or Ironmen who are looking for items that they kind of need to progress in the game and kind of go from there. So just be aware that I can't, the video would be close to probably 4 hours long, and I probably wouldn't even cover all the scenarios if I tried to do a timed experiment for each scenario. So I just kind of did what I could to do kind of the best and the fastest and see, but each player is going to have to take a moment and time these out on their own and kind of understand before they start applying it to the drop rates to see if they really are going to save time or the strategy is going to work for them specifically. Also, I'm using, the strange old lockpick, which I know certain players, specifically in mind, I have Iron Men or even alternate Iron Men who are trying to save inventory spaces. You might not be able to use the strange old lockpick, and this saves a lot of time when you're rushing the chamber and going down. I mean, you basically can just open 2 sets of doors instead of running around in the circle, so you save a considerable amount of time. So it's important for players to take what they have and time it out. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the video you've all been waiting for, and that is the summary and the conclusion of our findings, and whether or not we are onto something here with a viable method of hunting Barrows items. First, we're going to bring a summary to what we were looking at prior to the time trials, and that is if I was to kill 6 brothers versus only 1 brother. As we know, killing 6 brothers gives us a 1/87 chance, and killing only 1 brother gives us a 1 in 196 chance. Now, the thing to consider is the time. In the scenario where we kill only 1 brother, it takes us 1 minute, which means it would take 196 minutes, which is just over 4 hours, to receive an item if we were rushing the chamber. If we are killing 6 brothers, that is a 1 in 87 chance, and each cycle takes 4 minutes, which would mean it would take 348 minutes to get an item from a desired brother. Compared to the 196 minutes, that is much more. Although there's one exception to this, and that is that the chamber is not always going to be the same brother every time. Now, that doesn't mean that our strategy isn't viable, it just means that we have to adapt a little bit. So, always start with the brother that you desire. If it is the brother that is the chamber, rush. That's only going to take 1 minute of your time. You can go back, reset, and come back. If it's not the brother, then go and complete the other brothers. This way you have a synergy, you have a balance between the 1 in 196 chance that's only going to take you 1 minute, and you have your average chance, which is much better and increased if you do your 6 brothers. Because the chamber is a 1 in 6 chance of being the brother you desire, over a course of, let's say, 600 chests, you would have 100 opportunities, which would take a total of 100 minutes, but you would have half of the drop rate of the 1 in over 196, which, yes, these are a bit of a long shots, but again, you're looking at a scenario where you're guaranteeing you're getting something from a brother you desire, which adds a little bit of a psychological relief to the player. I've broken the conclusion into 3 sections. One being time, the second scenario, and the third psychology. Like I said, I can't run through all of the scenarios for every single player because there's far too many different types of accounts and different account restrictions. So time your runs. If maybe you're very slow at killing Aram or you take a lot of damage with Varrock, it might be worth your time to skip that brother. Only going down to 1 brother is going to take you from a 1 in 15 to a 1 in 27. Yes, that's quite a big impact, but you might be saving yourself almost half the time, so it's important to know your time. Other strategies include skipping the chamber monsters. Like I said, the percent potential does not affect whether or not you are going to get a Barrows item. So if you're item hunting, skip the chamber monsters. That's a big time savings. Also, if available, use the strange old lockpicks. They have 50 charges each, and it might even be worth for some Iron Men to go and collect a few from the minigame. Also, like we discussed just a moment ago, if you have a desired brother, like in my case, I need Guthan items first, start with that brother. If that brother is the chamber, immediately rush the chest. It's only going to take around a minute of your time, and you have a 1 in 196 chance. Over a long period of time, that's going to give you many, many chances, and you know you are going to get something specifically from that brother. Also, you can combine brothers, so in my case, I was killing 4 brothers for around 250 chests. I was killing Varrock, I was killing Torag, Carol, and Guthan. That was a 1 in 44 chance, and I had my time down to under 3 minutes, which means just over 2 hours I was getting an item from them, which in most cases I was on drop rate. I did go dry a few times. I did have about a 70 chest or 80 chest point where I went very, very dry, but that type of thing still happens at the 1 in 14 chance, so I can't blame it on the strategy itself. Players can also mix it up if they know the drop rate, so I recommend writing the drop rate down for each scenario and have it in front of you. For instance, if maybe you kill 6 brothers most of the time, but in my case you have 4 brothers that are desired. If you start with Varrock, kill Torag, then Carol, and then Guthan, and Guthan happens to be the chamber, you can rush the chamber on 4 brothers. You know it's a 1 in 44 chance. So know your drop rates and play to that. If you're looking for only 3 brothers, start with them and maybe you can go down. You can mix it up, and you know that psychologically, which we're going to talk to in a second, you know that you're going to get something from those brothers. In wrapping up time, What I'm saying is, know the drop rates and know the time it is taking you to complete brothers. There is a little bit of a synergy and there's a little bit of an adaptive process, but if you understand the time it's taking you to do a select number of brothers, as well as the drop rates you're working towards, you can kind of work with that and kind of make determinations on whether you want to rush the chamber on 1, whether you want to rush the chamber on 3, or whether you want to do all 6. But it does also come down to the next section. For scenario, it really links to time as well as psychology, and it really comes down to what the player specifically has. What are the account restrictions? What are the account goals? What items are you looking for? And have you completed certain brothers? This is more up to the player to understand what the scenario is and how they're going to apply it. Like I said, it comes back to the time and to the drop rates. If you're only here for one specific item, you want to start at that brother, and maybe you want to sometimes do 6 brothers, sometimes do 3 brothers, sometimes do 4 brothers. Or if you want to stay consistent, you can limit it to maybe 5 brothers and leave one out if you've got that brother completed. Same if you're doing the collection log. If you have completed 1 brother entirely, maybe leave that brother out and limit your chance of getting a duplicate item. I know in my case, and this is going to bring us right into psychology, I was getting a considerable amount of duplicates from brothers that I don't need to complete and I don't need items from. I have a quadruplet of Darok plate legs. I have a quadruplet of the Aram's top, and I don't need any more pieces from those brothers. So to skip those brothers, like I said, this comes back into psychology for me, and doing the 4 brother method, at least, what like I said, you can do 4 brothers in under 3 minutes, so just over 2 hours. I should be getting an item on average. Obviously, it's subject to RNG, which we can't control, but I know that when I do get an item, it's going to be an item from a brother I desire. Even if it's a duplicate item, at least I know that I had a chance at getting the item from the brother I wanted, and not just another item from a brother I do not care about. So that brings us into the psychology aspect of what works for you. I know getting duplicate items, especially, you know, if you're looking at your average drop rate, can take the wind out of your sails, and at least if you know you're getting an item from a brother that you desire, you're on the right track. Like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of a tier system. First, you have to be lucky enough to receive a roll, then you have to receive a desired brother, and then third, you have to receive the item that you want. You can minimize, you can remove one of those tiers and say, okay, at least it's going to come from a brother I want, then I only have to get lucky to receive an item and to receive the item that I want. I appreciate everybody watching this video, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, you can leave them below in the comments, or you can stop by my Twitch channel and we can go through any of this. I'll still be hunting Barrows items for a long time. And, you know, there is a case to be made that killing all 6 brothers is obviously going to be the preferred method. If you do it statistically, if you did 180,000 simulations of this, it would pan out in the end that killing all 6 brothers is better. It comes down to psychology, scenario, and time for you. And for me personally, now that this video is airing, I have over 700 Barrows chests, and I have got a considerable amount of dupes. For me, it's more important to mitigate the risk of getting a dupe, because after, you know, maybe 6-7 hours straight of doing Barrows and receiving multiple items that you don't need, especially the way I'm playing my account as, you know, 4 drops like an Iron Man or an Iron Man, if you're gonna get a whole bunch of items that aren't useful to you, where you can hone in on those 1 items. Yes, your drop rates are poor, but in the grand scheme of RS, you know, even 1 and 196 isn't a bad drop rate, especially with the time it takes to get that. So I think the summary and what I've taken from this in this learning experience is to, you have to synergize, you have to adapt, and you have to do multiple scenarios and feel it out with time. You can, you know, trudge ahead doing 6 items and complete your collection log. I know lots of people who have got it done in, you know, 600-700 items, and I also know people who are on 1,200 and 1,600 chests and still are hunting 1 or 2 items, and they've got a mountain of duplicate items that aren't helping them. And, you know, for someone like an Iron Man, that can be very critical. And you see this in especially if you're watching content creators now and have, you know, friends who are Iron Men, a considerable amount of people are skipping Barrows, because unlike, you know, any other area in the game, it's a question of getting a piece of something, but maybe not the piece you need, right? There's 24 eligible items and you might only need 4 pieces from there. So you're going to spend a lot of time on some early game content that might not benefit your account, and a lot of people are skipping it. If I could make one recommendation for Barrows, if there could be any kind of an update, it would be that you, and maybe they just made this specific to Iron Man, but the player themselves could pick the chamber. If you went down and say you went into Carol, you're looking for Carol's crossbow, if you could pick the chamber and go down, and you basically could do a chest every minute. Yes, that would be every minute, and there would be a huge advantage, and it would change the game a little bit, but you're still looking at a 1 in 196 chance at 1 minute. So even then, you're still looking at, you know, almost 1,000 minutes, which is a lot of time to complete one set. It is a benefit, it is going to be a change, but it's not going to be detrimental, because it's not going to allow bots to farm items, the more, you know, profitable items, because even still, even if you get that roll on 100 and 196, you still could get 1 of 4 items. So if I could make a recommendation for an update to Barrows, it would be that you could pick your own chamber, and that would kind of make hunting items a little bit more achievable, and I think it would make Iron Man kind of come back to the minigame. If you want to come to my Twitch channel anytime, we can review this in detail. If you have a specific scenario and you want to run by me, I would consider myself pretty well versed on the issue at this point, which is why I made a video and I wanted to inform others. And I hope everybody enjoyed the video, and I hope everyone has a great day, and best of luck hunting your Barrows items.